Get ready for the lesson. Analyze graphs. The graph shows the countries with the most World Championship motocross wins. What is the total number of wins for the 5 countries? Number 1, do you have all the information to solve this problem? Yes. You have the 5 countries and you have how many championships each country has won. Explain how you would solve this problem, then solve it. I would add the number of wins, 44 for Belgium, plus 14 for Sweden, plus 8 for France, plus 7 for Italy, plus 7 for the USA, and that equals 80. Number 3, how does your answer make sense? I can compare my answer to the estimate of 40 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, or 80. Since the answer is the exact value of the estimate, the total 80 makes sense. Number 4, what can you do if your first attempt at solving the problem does not work? I would start over and make a new plan. Then I would try to solve the problem again. If my answer is not close to the estimate, I would check my arithmetic. In mathematics, there's a 4-step plan you can use to help you solve any problem. Notice it says cheat sheet, so this information is on your cheat sheet and you can fill it out as we go. Understand. Read the problem carefully. What information is given? What do you need to find out? Is enough information given? Is there extra information? Sometimes they put red herrings into problems and we need to figure out what is. What is pertinent and what isn't. And then we have to plan. How do the facts relate to each other? Plan a strategy for solving the problem. There may be several that you can use. And estimate the answer. Then we're going to solve. Use your plan to solve the problem. If your plan doesn't work, revise it or make a new plan. What is the solution? And then we need to check to make sure that our solution is correct. Does the answer fit the facts given in the problem? Is the answer close to your estimate? Does the answer make sense? If not, solve the problem another way. We want to determine the 2 months in which the most members of the class were born. What questions do we need to ask? What month were you born? Seems like a good question. How could you gather the data? So how could you collect it? A class survey. What would be a good way to record data? A tally chart or table. So on the right, we have you could use this as a tally chart and put in hash marks for each student that answers for each month. How might you organize and display the data? In a table, a bar graph, or a circle graph. Problems may look difficult at first, but students can solve most of them by following the 4-step plan. Problems can often be solved by using different strategies. Sometimes a problem can be solved more easily with one strategy than with another. Some students will find using one strategy easier than others. Estimating is a good way to check answers in the check step. Examples. Number 1, television. There were about 268 million TVs in the US in 2007. This amount increases by 4 million each year after 2007. In what year will there be at least 300 million TVs? So let's understand the problem. What are you trying to find? In what year will there be 300 million TVs in the US? What information do you need to solve the problem? You know how many TVs there were in 2007, and also know the number increases by 4 million each year. Now we need to make a plan. Find the number of TVs needed to reach 300 million. Then divide this number by 4 to find the number of years that will pass before the total reaches 300 million TVs. And then to solve, the change in the number of TVs from 260 million to 300 million can be written as 300 minus 268 equals 32 million TVs. So we need the number of TVs to increase by 32 million before we get to 300 million. So if we divide the difference by 4, you get 32 million divided by 4 million, which equals 8 years. Because remember, it's 4 million per year. And we can also use the make a table strategy. So year 2007, 268 million. If we add 4 million to that, we get 272 million in 08. Then add 4 million to that, 276 million in 09. And if we keep going, we'll keep adding 4 each year. And it's 4, remember, these are in millions. So we'll have 300 million in 2015. And if we go back to right above it where it says it's 8 years, if we add 8 years to 2007, we get 2015. So there will be at least 300 million TVs in the US in the year 2015. We can check that. 8 years times 4 million TVs equals 32 million TVs. And then if we add 268 million that we had in 2007, and we add 32 million to that, we get 300 million. So the solution checks out as correct. Check your progress. A, whales. A baby blue whale gains about 200 pounds each day. About how many pounds does a baby blue whale gain per hour? And this is on your cheat sheet. What do we need to know? How many pounds does a baby blue whale gain in a day? 200. How many hours in a day? 24 hours in a day. How do we solve pounds per hour? Divide the number of pounds per day by the number of hours in a day. So if we have 200 pounds in a day divided by 24 hours in a day, we get 8.33, or about 8 pounds per hour. Problems can be solved using different operations or strategies. So some problem-solving strategies: guess and check, look for a pattern, make an organized list, draw a diagram, act it out, solve a simpler problem, use a graph, work backwards, eliminate possibilities, estimate reasonable answers, use logical reasoning, and make a model. These should look familiar to you because we did a lot of, if not all of these last year. Example, use a strategy in a 4-step plan. So number 2, geometry. A diagonal connects 2 non-consecutive vertices in a figure as shown at the right. Find how many diagonals a figure with 7 sides would have. So this is a triangle which has 3 sides. 0 diagonals. We have a square with 4 sides, and it has 1, 2 diagonals. Pentagon, 5 sides, 1, 3, 4, 5 diagonals. So understand, you know the number of diagonals for figures with 3, 4, and 5 sides. Plan. You can look for a pattern by organizing the information in a table, then continue the pattern until you find the diagonals for an object with 7 sides. And to solve, if we have a triangle with 3, we had 0 diagonals. 4 sides, we had 2 diagonals. 5 sides, we have 5. So if we look at the difference between 0 and 2, it's 2. 2 to 5 is 3. So we can assume the pattern is we're going to add a diagonal each time we add a side. So now 6 sides we have 9 diagonals, and 7 sides we have 14 diagonals. So a 7-side figure would have 14 diagonals, and we can check that by drawing a 7-sided figure, and then we can draw the diagonals in. If you want to count those, since I didn't, you can freeze the video and count those, and you'll find that you have 14. Check your progress. Use a strategy in the 4-step plan. So B, geometry. Numbers that can be represented by a triangular arrangement of dots are called triangular numbers. The first 5 triangular numbers are shown below. Write a sequence formed by the 8 triangular numbers. Write a rule for generating the sequence. So these are right in your textbook. You'll notice there's 1, and then there's 3, and then there's 6, 10, and 15. So those are the dots that they're counting, right? There's 1 dot there, and the first triangle is 3 dots, and there's 6 dots. So between 1 and 3, we're going to add 2. Between 3 and 6, we add 3 dots. Go from 6 to 10, we have to add 4 dots. And from 10 to 15, we have to add 5 dots. So if we're trying to find out how many are in the 6th triangle, we're going to add 6 to get the next triangle, and that is what it would look like with 21 dots. Excuse my drawing here, and then if we want to find the 7th in the sequence, 7th triangle in the sequence, we would add 7 more dots, and we would get 28 dots, and that would be the new triangle. And then if we wanted to find the 8th number in this, or the triangle in this sequence, we would add 8 more dots, and we would get 36 in our new triangle. Additional examples. Number 1, spending. A can of soda holds 12 fluid ounces, and a 2-liter bottle holds about 67 fluid ounces. If a pack of 6 cans costs the same as a 2-liter bottle, which is the better buy? What do we need to know? Which costs more? They both cost the same. Which has more fluid ounces? I'm not sure. How do we solve ounces per 6-pack? So we know each can has 12 ounces, so we're going to multiply 12 fluid ounces times 6 to find out how many ounces in a 6-pack. So 6 times 12 equals 72 fluid ounces in a 6-pack. There are 67 fluid ounces in a 2-liter bottle. The 6-pack is a better value because you get more fluid ounces for the same amount as a 2-liter. Additional examples. Number 2, population. For every 100,000 people in the United States, there are 5,750 radios. For every 100,000 people in Canada, there are 323 radios. Suppose Seamus lives in Des Moines, Iowa, and Alex lives in Windsor, Ontario. Both cities have about 200,000 residents. About how many more radios are there in Seamus City than in Alex's city? So what do you need to know? How many radios per 100,000, right? So in the US, it's 5,750 per 100,000. That means that's the ratio for Seamus's city of Des Moines, Iowa. And in Canada, it's 323 per 100,000, which is what it would be in Alex's city of Windsor, Ontario. So what's the population of each city? They told us in the question that there's 200,000 residents in each city. So 200,000 divided by 100,000 equals 2. So we're dividing by 100,000 because that's the ratio they gave us, the number of radios per 100,000, so we want to break it down, the population down by that 100,000. So radios in the U.S., if there's 5,750 per 100,000, and we know there's 200,000 in Des Moines, Iowa, we're going to multiply 5,750 times 2, so that instead of representing 100,000, we're going to represent 200,000. So there's 11,500 radios per 200,000 residents in Des Moines, Iowa. And then the radios in Canada, it's the same thing. So we're going to multiply 2 times 323, because remember, it's 323 radios per 100,000 people. And there are 200,000 people, so we need to get it 2 times 323 equals 646. So 11,500 minus 646 equals 10,854. And we subtracted that because we're trying to find out how many more radios are in Des Moines, Iowa than in Ontario, Windsor, Ontario. Okay, your homework, page 27 to 29, 1 through 12 all, 14 through 16 all, and 18 through 24.